the official primary Baldo bunker was under siege and under lockdown. He used the paid off house as collateral to receive, I believe, $320,000.
Okay, we want to start cases on everybody for internet bullshit? Okay, alright, if that's the way you got... Whoa, shit!
That is Ralph falling backwards out of his chair. The order was given, let me see your pussy! And then Ethan Ralph delivers, woo! Here you go! Next, speaking of Spicer, Minnesota, we have Rekieta Law, who has been posting in Patrick Melton's chat. If you don't know, Patrick Melton is a pedophile who is now associated with Juju the Cow, as is a lot of pedophiles for whatever reason. He's been sending money to Patrick Melton to get his word out. This is what he's had to say. Wait until everybody hears what makes him insta-nut. I bet that's funny. Maybe life and relationships are really complicated. People want to control mine. It's weird. Also, he really liked hearing about my kielbasa. He lives in the present, and his brain... talking about Aaron Imholt, the former husband of his girlfriend, April. He lives in the present. His brain rewrites the past to suit his present. I legit don't know if he is conscious of it. Aaron threatened me with a baseball bat. He's told this story live. He's nervous because he wants to talk about Kayla. Amazing that he says that he won't tell another person's story. I think I've talked about this before, but Rekieta and Aaron have confirmed that they've seen each other's cocks, and I think that Aaron has eaten his cock. These are just his regular messages. Arguing with people. Oh, here we go. He paid her into a joint account. And remember how he accused her of stealing his money. Embrace being a eating cuck, another fun one for the toe. He took the cum right off her chest. Ew, that is fucking nasty. Old people are gross, man. Hey, Melton, according to Kiwi Farms, we are the best friends and hang out all the time, apparently. I am so glad to be your best friend, and thanks for all the files and hard drives. Hi, Nick. Thanks for the files. This is from Vito the Pito. Great. Cool. 2 files. Awesome. 2 for 1, chat. This is a... God, this is a... Now, Rekieta says, Dear Diary, another week has gone by, and I continue to marvel at the way the lowercase I internet processes information. I'm also haunted by specters. Not ghosts, but figurative projections people place. It tipped off of me when someone claimed that me letting April live rent-free in a house was abusive because I didn't supply the house with lowercase I internet. Well, which one? The specter addiction allows people to self-justify any thoughts or words towards the alleged addict. There are several other specters at play currently, but right now addiction is the hammer in search of nails. Once you are labeled something sufficiently, the reality of your circumstances are irrelevant. The label is all that matters. It's why Trump was so effective at eliminating his competition. He branded them simply and effectively. The brands of addict or alcoholic are used to strip the humanity from the branded and used fallaciously as trump card in any discussion. The addict is never allowed to deny the branding. Denial is a sign of addiction, after all. It's true, it is. The brands justify condescension and any removal of autonomy necessary to prevail over the addict in any disagreement. The brands also justify any imagination someone has about the addict. They must act in this way because they are an addict. It is a matriarchal specter that births and nurtures further specters. That is a fucking cringe line. I'm sure he has that tattooed in Chinese on his fucking ass cheek or something. He's just whining like, oh no, my addict behavior is getting me labeled an addict. This is so cruel and unusual. I can't believe this is happening to me. Like, yeah, bro, you act like a fucking addict and everybody sees it, but you're in denial. You don't see it. So it must be like, oh my God, it's everybody else who's wrong. This year has been an object lesson in bad timing. That said, the assumptions about me, my family, my vices, my physical and mental health, and etc. are often distorted, exaggerated, or downright fabricated. It is going to take me a lot of time to try and correct the ones that matter, but I will try. To those waiting for accountability or apology, etc., I'm sorry, you're going to have to wait a bit. The closure of my criminal case is necessary to speak candidly, and I believe candor is necessary to build trust. I have made some poor choices, and I've had some unfortunate variables in my equations. These things combined to bring my life to the brink over the course of this year, but the circumstances and story that brought them about may help people with perspective. I am well aware of my mistakes and failings, but people confuse being muzzled with not being accountable. These are not the same, though they may create similar impressions. I am accountable to many people for my actions. I am not accountable to a ravenous mob on the lowercase I internet. Nonetheless, please do not confuse delay with denial. Some people just have to wait to be done properly. Very cool, Rekieta. He's haunted by Specter. Specter's pockmarked face haunting, torturing him, poking him with hot steaks, going hee hee hee. Jabs in at him. Take that, Rekieta. Another specter haunting him is the state of Minnesota, who has denied, capital, all capital, bold text, denied his petition for discretionary review. Now, as a recap, when Rekieta filed his response to the omnibus during the omnibusin, he went for a Frank's hearing, which is like a shot in the dark. He's basically saying that the cops lied to get a search warrant, and therefore all things in the search warrant are fruit of the poison tree and should be thrown out, which is basically the same as winning your case. It was a long shot, and it didn't work. And moreover, because he only asked for a Frank's hearing, he did not get to make many other pretrial motions that would be intelligent for him to make at that time. The judge explicitly, in his response to the Frank hearing discussion, said that no other pretrial motions were allowed, which left him in a very disadvantageous position proceeding in his criminal case. So, what he did is filed for a petition for discretionary review. And this is a very, 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 very unusual move. In a civil case, it makes sense pretty often to file for an appeal if you're unhappy with the decision of the court. It does not make sense in a criminal case because generally the courts want you to go through the process, be found innocent or guilty, and then petition for review after you are found guilty and you have been sentenced. Because there's lots of stuff after that you might want to file in one go that then gets reviewed. And that's how they prefer it be done. Because if you file all these pretrial appeals and then you get found innocent anyways, well, you just wasted everybody's time. So the petition for discretionary review, as it was explained to me by a Minnesota attorney, is that you file it when you have a very good chance of winning, and also it makes sense to do it before you're sentenced or found guilty, because the process would be punishment in and of itself. And the number one reason to file for one of these petitions is for double jeopardy. If you are found innocent or guilty of a crime in the United States, you can never, ever, 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 ever be tried criminally for anything related to that incident again. It is constitutionally prohibited. It is a part of the Bill of Rights. You can never be tried for the same issue twice. Even if it is a similar issue. Like if you did a crime, but you did two crimes, and you are sentenced in regards to the first crime, but they forgot to charge you for the second crime, they can't go back and say, wait a second, he also did this, so we're going to try him for that too. That's also double jeopardy. You have to bring everything related to that incident to the court when it happens. Otherwise, you're just fucking with this guy beyond what's reasonable. It's cruel and unusual punishment. So, if you went through the process once, you're out, and then they're trying to fuck with you again, you then file for a petition for discretionary review. So they should want to give him what he's asking for. But rather, it was a particularly bad petition for discretionary review because he just wasn't exceptional. There was nothing exceptional about his case that would warrant allowing him this exceptional review. Rekieta starts off with as best, I think it's Biggie Smalls. Today was a good day. Didn't he have to shoot somebody? Today is a monumentally great. Today our CPS case is closed and full legal custody has been restored to Kayla and I. We have had physical custody of our kids on a trial home visit since early August, but we are still subject to government oversight and intrusion, as well as drug and alcohol testing 3 to 5 times a week. Kayla and I completed Outpatient. Piece by piece, I am picking up and preparing to rebuild into whatever mosaic life has for me. Thanks again for sticking with me. Talk to you soon. Kata saying that he has regained custody. Cool. I don't know if that's true. There's no way to find out, so we just have to take his word for it, I guess. Then he writes this. As to give you guys a context, this was leading up to his plea entry date. He was supposed to enter a guilty or not guilty plea today, I want to say. And I was expecting to talk about that today, but I'll get to that in a second. Instead, on the precipice of this date, he wrote this entry. He writes, "Dear Diary, I've been thinking a lot about David for a while now. David is a walking dichotomy. I hate him. I don't like his character. I don't know who the fuck David is, but I think that's a nickname for Aaron. So he can talk about Aaron without causing any legal issues for himself. I hate how he is venerated and his sins are ignored. I hate that his obviously brutish behavior is excused. He exploited so many people with a quiet threat of violence. He took what he wanted. He killed or ordered and killed those." Wait, is he talking about the biblical David? Bible David. Okay, King David. Those who sit in the way of his birthright, his ambition, or his mere wants. David was a bad man. Yet, the more I think of his story, the more I see myself. Yeah, buddy. David suffers from a capacity problem. From the reader's standpoint, most of us are not a king who can have a man killed to hide our infidelity. We look at the audacity of murder and it forces us to overlook the infidelity. Fidelity, I think, is the hardest thing to maintain for honest adults. Fidelity is faithfulness and support in all circumstances. Now, we might mitigate infidelity in so many ways, not actually having sex, having a hall pass or permission, or pretending that it is limited to mere sexuality in the first place. Your relationship is probably not solely defined by sex, so neither can fidelity be so limited. I know my own infidelities are a myriad, and almost none of them involve sexuality in any way. But we always want an excuse. We need excuses because we cannot handle our problems like David could. David's status gave him the capacity to sin bigger than us. David's originating sins are the same as any mere man or woman, at the value of the character, and that's the message. God's love of David transcends his immense capacity to sin audaciously before the Lord. The message is not that David is so special, rather that David's sins are that the mere extrapolation of our own when unshackled by the restrictions of our status. I hate David because I am David. I hate me. I hate my sins and my failures. I hate my infidelities. I hate when I have killed to get my way. I hate the result of all my choices being a shattered state. I hate that there isn't anyone else to blame. We sin within our capacity. We feel bigger than we knew our capacity to be. The scariest part is that I always just wondering when the storm is finished, I can go outside and start picking up pieces. God's message is that He was there before the storm, protected you during the storm, and will help you clean up after it, even though you flapped your stupid wings hard enough to create that storm in the first place. At least my sons have not raised armies against me yet. I still have that on David. I don't know. This is another way, and he does this quite a bit, where he tries to say, I'm taking... everybody knows that the correct thing to do when you've done something wrong is to take accountability. But this is one of the ways that Rekieta has repeatedly insisted to the world that he takes accountability for the things that he has done without actually taking accountability for anything that he's done. He makes a biblical allegory in a way that's kind of like a humble brag, comparing himself to a literal king. And says, much like David, I have reaped the whirlwind, and now I am accountable for my own actions, for which I am solely responsible for. But it's like, what have you actually done to take accountability? What do you intend to do to take accountability? When you say that you take accountability, what does that mean? And he would just respond to that saying like, well, that's personal. I don't owe you anything. It's like, well, saying is one thing and doing is another. And every single thing that I see you do is merely an insistence that you're in the right and everybody else is in the wrong and they can eat shit. And then you post these, fruity little diatribes about how actually you are so grateful for your grace and what little you have left, and you understand how precious things are. I feel so insincere. But obviously he would just insist that he's not trying to impress me, A-log, incel prude. One thing, by the way, that is very indicative that he has absolutely no sense of accountability, is that he continues to pay pig to a file who has at many different points in his time joked about raping children, specifically children of people that he knows personally. So I don't know what the fuck is supposed to be taken from that, but on the eve of his plea hearing, he sent $100. And Rekieta law for $100 says, thank you for all the well wishes and the support today. I have to go do something that is anathema to me. Why not just say antithetical? What the fuck's the point of using the Greek word for that? Anathema to me, because it is the right thing to do, and I have 2 boys to teach how to be men. You've always been a neutral voice, and that's all I've ever asked for. So, it's been set. He's writing poetry about King David and how King David had to reap the whirlwind for his sins, his grave sins against God. And he is having to take accountability and go do something antithetical to him and his wishes. And then the day of the plea deal comes and continuance. Well, it sounds like he was ready to accept some kind of plea deal, but it's been kicked back almost 2 weeks. Now, a Minnesota attorney and a former criminal prosecutor had a little discussion with me about this, where he or her pitched his or her idea on why this can happen. These kinds of things are discretionary to a judge. A judge can effectively do whatever the fuck he wants. He compared judges to 800-pound gorillas. They can do whatever they want, and you can't really do anything about it. They will just do whatever they want, and that's just their nature. So this could just be the judge being like, well, the schedules didn't work out. We'll do this in December. It is Thanksgiving Day week, after all. We got shit to do. We got turkey to eat. C'est la vie. Let's catch you in December. Or it could be that he is repeatedly delaying this plea deal, so that his case syncs up more correctly with Kayla's case, because he may be intending to try them together, which I have been told by a defense attorney that joint trials are something that judges and courts do for judicial expediency and cost saving, and not necessarily to the benefit of the defendants. He says that every defense attorney will object to a joint trial because it is impossible to say that they don't prejudice both of the defendants to try the people together. So that would, by its nature, be detrimental to both Kayla and Nick. I always call him Rekieta, but Kayla's also Rekieta. Make any sense? I have to make sure I say Nick. Now, it would be prejudicial to both of them to have them together, because, Kayla would look bad standing next to Nick. They kind of look like partners in crime if you have them literally tried together. So that could be the other reason why. The third reason why could be that, because they did show up in court, and I'll read some notes in a second, but it could be that they couldn't agree on anything on that day, and so or something came up where they expected that they would have an agreement, and then at the last second they're like, wait a second, I didn't agree to that, so they had to postpone it so that the parties could discuss things. There's any number of explanations. The most conspiratorial of that would be that the judge wants them to be tried together, and that's an indication that he's trying to sync their timelines up together. Then a Kiwi, a tiki barman, actually went over and took some notes. The notes read, April gives niche, or nickch, because that is the Cyrillic alphabet ch, or I think it's the ch. Anyways, April gives niche a huge hug. She has heavy caged on foundation and mascara, muddy combat boots, blue jeans, some weird coat with big gold buttons down the arms. She looks puffy, has been crying for sure. Dude, I'm sorry. This is just like written, and it's not like untidy looking characters. He just writes his characters in like the weirdest ways. Why do you write your letters this way? I don't understand. At 2:19, she went to the bathroom down the hall, and I hear her sniffling and tearing paper towels, and faucet sounds. No toilet, most likely. Still waiting outside. Court just met April. She looks incredibly tense, eyes either down or staring off, a ring on every finger, silver holographic nails. Oh, someone's watching TikTok. 4 bracelets on each arm. Super awkward. Small talk between April and Kayla. April tries to help Kayla throw out the fast food container. They talk a tiny bit about nothing, then hang out facing each other awkwardly. The bailiff comes out. Must note both Kayla and April are playing with something in their hands. April, her glasses. Kayla, car keys. So tense, they clef feel awkward. They definitely. I think he's trying to say like most deaf. They definitely feel awkward and are self-soothing. We finally enter the courtroom. Niche and Kayla stand together while April stands a few feet away, awkwardly staring at them. And then this is page 2. Niche and Kayla are whispering to each other, and April is trying to whisper to them while standing a few feet away. Lol, it's awkward. Can't move or make out. That is not a K, bro. That thing right there that you are doing is not the letter K. That is ch in Cyrillic, okay? Make out what they are saying. Sorry. Niche, look, redis, cheaps, sighting, and looking up. No one is touching. All 3 just standing around can hear a pin drop. Now Niche and April are having some convo that he's smiling at her and she's giggling while Chayla stands out and silent gripping her left arm at the elbow with her right hand. She looks so tense from behind. Can't wait to see her face. It's down. Or can't see her face. It's down. Bro, there is like 5 people in here and court is still not in session. Chayla has some death grip on those car keys. Can see her hand veins. Feel a bit, and I think that means bad for her, but he says, no, I don't. LOL. Okay, so apparently it was all figured out in the bathroom and no court session happened. Pussies. Wow, Lamau. But nothing happened, basically. And this guy learns that his letter K is the worst thing that I've ever seen ever in any handwriting. Sorry, I'm just sorry. Like I see that and I'm like, that's not an English alphabet language. That's not an Latin alphabet. Look, I'm gonna show you guys this. You cannot give me shit. Okay, look at his K. It's like number 4, but when I see it, I just think of this, and it's the ch sound in Russian. I was like, that's what it looks like. It's a ch. It's not no K. Come the fuck on. You can't see it. There we go. There we go. Look at this. Ch. Niche. Chayla. Sure. Now you know, chat. Now you know. So, I mentioned this during my Rekieta recap last stream, during the New Year's stream. And one of the things that I mentioned very in brief was that the official primary Baldo bunker was under siege and under lockdown. What appears to have happened, and this is a bit lofty, is that in 2022 he took out a loan collateralizing the house that he has in a trust, and the house appears to have been bought outright for him by money in that trust. So then he used the paid off house as collateral to receive, I believe, $320,000, which we speculate was used to pay for Randazza. And it's very hard to guesstimate how much money he spent on Randazza, but Randazza is a 4-figure attorney. He is from LA. He is considered one of the premier free speech attorneys, civil rights attorneys in the entire country. So it seems like he took out, and Randazza hasn't just been defending him in this case, by the way. Randazza has been employing interlocutory appeals to try and get this case moved in between districts. He's gone up to the appellate court, I think, on 2 different issues at this point. So instead of just settling with Montegraph and offering him a little bit of money to f off, which is presumably what Montegraph wants, and an apology for accusing him of being a which is really unconscionable. Yeah, he's paid Randazza. Randazza could be 6 figures at this point. It's hard to say. The rest of that could have gone to Kane. It's hard to say. He was making really good money even in 2022, so I don't know. Aaron Imholt, the Nazi, said that Rekieta was banging rocks that were massive. So, right. So he ran out of money, basically. As I said, I think that what's going to happen with this is because I think he just sold the other house. So there's a really long process. Somebody familiar explained that the process of a foreclosure in Minnesota is very long. Like even now, you're looking at like an August removal of Rekieta. Like August 2025. So it's way out there. They would definitely just accept the money. So chances are he just sold the other house to keep the current house. And now he has neighbors, I guess. And the hot wife has to go find some other fucking place to live. How much did you pay for the second Baldo bunker? Bro, I do not want to live anywhere near Rekieta. I'm going to be real with you. I'm going to be real. Dog, homie, home slice. I do not want to be near Nick Rekieta. Where's my energy at, chat? It's time for the fun stuff. It's time for the really fun, the things that I'm truly passionate about in life. Such as Ethan Ralph. I have nothing but passion for Ethan Ralph. Ethan Ralph decided he was going to flex on stream. He was going to show people that he's a big guy. He means business. So he threw around his chair a bit just to show off the gun. There we go. Yeah. Yeah. Punish that chair. Smash it. Smash and slam. The gun poking out. Look, so dainty. Little gun pokage as he lifts up the chair. Smash that chair. Brrr, you chair. You piece of shit. Fuck you, bitch. Now, let's wind that back. Can we get a rematch, chat? Chair versus Ralph.
By the way, retweet this. I just tagged LawTube Sean the fat and I said your fat ass is next. Okay, we want to start cases on everybody for internet bullshit. Okay, alright, if that's the way you got. Whoa, shit!
That is Ralph falling backwards out of his chair. Immediately after calling Sean a fat, he just tips back. The order was given. Let me see your pussy. And then Ethan Ralph delivers. Woo! Here you go. Just, oh, that's the kind of service you just don't get anymore. Ask and receive. Truly excellent. But Ralph's not all up to just dumb shit, chat. Ralph is up to some serious business. The rumors came in first from loyal Killstream fan Haru Okumura, which from what my understanding is a Persona character. He says, Ethan Ralph has revealed live on air very angrily that Minnesota is pursuing charges on him for something related to his attendance at the Rekieta omnibus hearing, which was wrong but inferred. He says they don't seem to care much about him personally and are focused on going after Nick Rekieta. And they're alleging that he was acting on Nick's behalf when he virtually attended Aaron's hearing. He says that he was contacted and served by an agent of the government. Ethan Ralph was emailed midstream by a sheriff from, I believe, the not the Candy-Ojai County one, but the other one. It's like called Sharon's County. It's the one where Aaron lives. And the county asked Ethan Ralph to turn himself in to law enforcement because he has an outstanding warrant for a misdemeanor contempt of court. That's a big thing, right? A misdemeanor, by definition, does not disenfranchise you, does not cost you gun rights, does not. It's only punishable by at absolute maximum 1 year in prison or 1 year in jail. Even anything that involves prison, I believe the distinction is anything that involves more than 1 year. Involves prison, involves disenfranchisement of rights. That's a felony. So he's just looking at a misdemeanor, which is at most 1 year. So it's kind of a minor thing, right? Well, he responded to the police officer, and I believe he even said that he wasn't going to turn himself in. And that led, because he lives in Mexico, and you bish. So now Ethan Ralph is the fugitive. Allow me to explain what has transpired as a result of this. And I asked a former elected district attorney for information so that I would be more informed on this topic, because very thankfully I'm not actually that versed on how criminal proceedings work, especially warrants. In the United States, there are agreements between all the states in regards to extradition. There are some caveats, some distinctions between them. In particular, it gets kind of hazy in regards to child support payments, parental kidnapping, that kind of shit. There's little differences between states, but they all generally have a network of how they handle warrants. And the big thing is, it's your own responsibility. So let's put out a theoretical. Let's say that the state of Minnesota, a county in Minnesota, has a charge, and they want to bring it against a man who has fled the state, perhaps to Mexico, and they want to get him no matter what. So they put out a national warrant. They put it into the database and say, it does not matter where this guy is, we will come get him. So what would happen then is that this guy could perhaps cross from Tijuana into California, and the Customs and Border Patrol or security would notice that he has entered the country and he's a wanted person in their database. So they would hold him, they would detain him, and notify the issuing authority responsible for the warrant. And a warrant then, they would hold him in whatever jail. The county would then get 2 sheriffs, and it has to be 2 deputies because one deputy may be indisposed, has to go to the bathroom, has to do something. So you can't leave the guy, the criminal, by himself. So there has to be always 2 deputies to make an arrest. Then the county will pay for these 2 deputies who are now on the clock as active duty service members or whatever, not service members, but police agents. And they'll get 2 plane tickets to Southern California. And then they have to take transportation or get the sheriff's department to give him a ride to the border where he's being held. And then they have to go back. And they'll have to pay for 3 plane tickets from Southern California back to Minnesota. Then they get in their car, and then they drive. That's like 24 hours. That's a long time. They get overtime because they're working a very long shift. That's 5 commercial plane tickets. And then there may also be fees related to the agency that held him. So it's a very big deal, and that's easily, based off what I've described, easily $10,000. That's taxpayer money, and it's paid by the county. So it's kind of expensive. You don't want to put out a national search warrant or arrest warrant, because if they're in, if you're in Florida and they're arrested in Juneau, Alaska, unless it's a really big deal, you probably don't want to pay your taxpayer dollars to go out there and apprehend this person, especially if you're an elected attorney who is responsible for wise management of finances, right? But so generally speaking, a felony is what's required for a warrant. If it's a misdemeanor, like for instance, let's say that you're in New Jersey and you know that you're going to, or if you're in South Dakota, if you're in Minnesota and there's a guy that you know who crosses over into North Dakota to work, because they have that big city on the border between Minnesota and North Dakota. You say, okay, well, we'll also put out a search warrant in North Dakota. If he gets arrested in North Dakota, that's close enough, we'll go get him. That's how it works for a misdemeanor. And that's like an extreme example. They don't usually do that either. Ralph has a misdemeanor contempt of court charge. And they have put out an international or a national search warrant or arrest warrant for him. A national arrest warrant. And from what I've been told by a former prosecuting attorney is that is unheard of. Never once in his career did he put out a national warrant for a misdemeanor, because it's just not worth the money. He might, if again in that situation where you know that he travels between two states very frequently, he might put out one for 2 states for a misdemeanor. So he's done something to Stearns County where they want his ass enough that they're going to put out $10,000+ and police overtime to haul him from whatever shithole he happens to end up in and get arrested at, and bring him back to Minnesota to face a contempt of court hearing. So that leaves a lot of questions. And I have a particular pet theory that I don't want to say on air, because I'm pretty convinced I'm right. And I think that me saying what I believe is not in the interest of justice, chat. And you guys know I love Justice. I'm a big fan. They make a lot of good songs. So I don't want to jeopardize that. So, this is his active warrant. Oh, it is Stearns County. And as it turns out, by the way, even if it's a misdemeanor, the statute of limitations in regards to time elapsed to charge him with this, it's indefinite. As long as he's out of the state of Minnesota, the charge is on hiatus. So it will never run out of its statutory limits. He will have this misdemeanor in Minnesota until the day he dies, if he does not face the music. So theoretically, the smart thing to do would be to go to Minnesota and face the music. They'll even pay for your plane ticket. There's one potential reason why that might not be such a smart idea, but again, I'm not going to say what. Ethan Ralph, of course, is not the kind of guy to face the music, because he's a fat So the first potential issue that he has is he's actually lost all of his identity documents. He's lost his driver's license, which he needs to drive in Mexico, and he's lost his passport book. And this kind of requires an explanation. In the United States, there's 2 forms of passports. You have passport books, which are the real ones that you want to have, because you can travel anywhere with a passport book as an American, basically. There's also passport cards. Passport cards are only valid for Canada, Mexico, and a couple other Caribbean island countries. And only for ferries and land crossings. You cannot fly from Mexico City to LA with a passport card. You still need a book, but you can drive from Tijuana and to LA, and many people do that every day, which is why there's the card. You don't need a stamp. As long as you have the card, you can land cross between the international border. And you can also commute from Buffalo up to Niagara if you want with the card every day. No issues. So that's what part of the reason why Ralph has moved from the Yucatan to Tijuana is that he has lost his passport book, but has his passport card, so he can still go see Zanda. It just takes many more hours to get there because he's driving. And for whatever fucking reason, he's too fucking dumb or lazy to renew or to report his passport book lost or stolen. and get a new one. And I think the main reason why is that you have to appear in person at the U.S. Embassy. And I guess he's afraid to do that for whatever reason. So now he's really... He doesn't have any documentation that he can use, and if he uses his passport card to drive into the United States, he's immediately going to be scooped up by Minnesota, which is weird. So I don't know what he's doing, there's a thing that I always notice, because I pay way too much attention to weird government shit for my own good. But I've always noticed when I fill out certain documents, there's a little checkbox that always made me laugh that says, I affirm under penalty of perjury that I am not a fugitive from justice. I'm like, you would think a fugitive from justice would have other shit to worry about than filling out this fucking mundane form. And now I get it. Ralph is a fugitive from justice, which means that he cannot actually pass background checks required to do many, many things that you and I take for granted. Even me living abroad, I can conduct a lot of business just fine, filling out boring paperwork. But now Ralph can't, because he's a fugitive from justice. So a lot of his stuff is going to start expiring, and he might lose access to things like American financial services. And in Mexico, or anywhere outside the United States, you can't open an account as an American specifically because of the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act is very invasive, and any bank that has American citizens has to report all of their American clients to the United States, or they have to not accept American citizens, or otherwise the American government comes after you. So he's going to start losing access to a lot of the things that he needs to get by day to day. And I don't know why he thinks that he can just hide in Mexico. Mexico is one of the worst states that you can hide in to get away from the U.S. government. They deport your ass for child support from Mexico. No problem. It's a movie trope that you go to Mexico to hide from the U.S. federal government or from the state governments. In reality, we sorted that shit out decades ago. They'll send you back home if they really want you. So he's going to start hurting if he loses access to his super chat money, even though it's now tax-free. If he can't deposit to his bank accounts because they're frozen due to his criminal status, fugitive from justice status. It really depends on how bad they want to go after him. So he's really f***ed himself. It's quite remarkable, actually, how badly he's f***ed himself. And it's kind of strange, too, that he has decided that he's just going to abandon seeing Xander. And he's angry at Aaron Emholt. He's saying, Aaron Emholt, you're keeping me from seeing my son because of this fucking warrant. I'm not going to be able to see my son anymore. And it's like, no, dude. What really him, though, is that he is in contempt of court because he restreamed Aaron Emholt's hearing on Zoom, and he just assumed, like, well, they're not going to come get me if I do this. And then he even acknowledged in the recording, I know I'm not supposed to restream this, but I'm in Mexico, bish. They can't fucking get me. And they're like, okay, fine. And what's really funny is that they might not even expect him to ever come back to the United States, but just by applying that fugitive from justice label and making him a national fugitive, it's like they've really f***ed him for free. I don't even think they have to pay the money to put the thing into the database for the warrant. It's like a free button they can press. Okay, there's a warrant for your arrest. It's not going to ever expire, and it's across the entire country. So you're just going to have to eat shit until you decide to come back here and spend 6 months in jail for contempt of court. Really crazy.
The search warrant. They filed a search warrant on Twitter. Asking for videos that I had from September the 3rd. They didn't ask for my DMs, but they asked for subscriber information to include, but not limited to, names, addresses, phone numbers, email addresses associated with the X account of me, and all posts, videos, photos posted an associated IP. Bitch, you can't find me with my IP, cocksucker.
He's so fucking dumb. I'm behind 7 proxies. Yeah, are you also a permanent resident of Mexico and they have your address on file? Yeah, okay, great.
Addresses made on 9/3/24 for the X account of me. They block out the name, it's redacted. It's some cop, it's probably the same cop that, contacted me. And once I got back to him and said I wasn't going to talk to him, they filed a charge against me. Because there's a theory that they actually wanted me to, testify against Nick Rekieta and say that he put me up to it. And first off,
If you're wondering, the music is loud because Ethan Ralph is a flaggot, and he's threatening to take down any people commenting on his video, but he can suck my asshole because f*** you. I'm commenting for the future court district. I'm commenting on the fact that this fat has ruined his entire life.
I won't comment on that at all. But second off, I won't comment to the police at all. And so, you know, if I talked to them and said, yeah, you know, I'm a snitch, let me... By the way, Rekieta did not have anything to do with anything I've done ever. But, you know, if I've been a snitch and said, yeah, he put me up to this and da-da-da, they probably wouldn't love that. But, you know what? I'm not a snitch, nigga.
So when I rewrite the DMCA as part of my foundation, I'm going to do something just to f*** over Ralph. I'm going to make it so that one of the possible reasons you can reject a DMCA is that the owner of the copyright is a fugitive from justice. Just specifically to f*** over Ralph and his flagging.
I'm 10 toes down. I'll fucking spend fucking 10 years in the goddamn fucking jail, like, before I fucking be a bitch. And so, that's me, that's how I was raised. That's the milieu that I came up in, and it's 10 toes down, nigga. Like, I don't give a fuck.
Nobody did shit. I didn't do shit illegal.
And if you want to come for me,
He admitted it. He admitted that he knew he wasn't supposed to rebroadcast the court proceedings. And he's like, I ain't done shit, bitch, motherfucker.
Fucking
Big snooze.
get me then, bitch.
Oh, bro. Don't
Do it then!
don't say that. If you ever are like in a confrontation with someone and there's a chance they might do something or they're threatening to do something you actually don't want them to do, don't ever say, do it then, pussy, because like 10 times out of 10 they will just straight up fucking murder you. Like there's no way to galvanize someone to fuck you over faster than daring them to do it.
Do it then! Okay? You wanna come at me for some shit? Not saying I was doing this, but everybody else was doing this. So I'm not going to jail. So,
dude, I wish I could canonize that as like one of those like election bets. Will Ralph go to jail in 2025? I would bet 1,000 right now. I would call PPP on that. We'd gamba it up.
all these fucking tards who think I'm going to jail, that's not gonna happen. And I'm not going to Minnesota. So, like, I may pay the fine just to, like, clear it up.
But I'm
The
not going to
fine.
Minnesota.
The fine. It's an arrest warrant. They want you. It's like, okay, fine. I'll pay the contempt of court fine. How much is it? Sir, you're going to have to come over here. We're going to prosecute you. There's a jail sentence attached to it. How much pesos? How much American dinero to pay this fine, sir?
Having a hearing? Like, fuck off, bitch. I'm in Mexico, and come and get me if you want.
Which you can't. In Mexico.
That's treaties with the United States, and they don't honor misdemeanors. So suck my fucking fat white dick. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Suck my fat white dick!
Ethan Oliver Ralph decided that he would just send a random ass letter to the courthouse in Minnesota explaining his situation to Yana so that this whole thing can be resolved. So this has been filed under the court as a docket item because they don't know what the fuck else to do with it. Obviously, Ralph cannot directly call the judge and talk about his case. It's called an ex parte communication. You can't do it. So if the judge gets any mail regarding a case, it has to be filed as a docket or something like that. To Yana and the Honorable Court. My name is Ethan Ralph. I have a nationwide warrant out in your jurisdiction for contempt of court. I live in Mexico. I go visit my son monthly in California. I cannot visit him for Christmas with this warrant outstanding since I could be detained at the border. I cannot simply fly there and be arrested in St. Paul since I have cats and a household to maintain here in Mexico. Basically, this warrant has locked me in Mexico until I can get it quashed. I was hopeful that you could quash the arrest warrant and allow me to appear for a hearing on the matter via Zoom. I'm not trying to dodge court proceedings or escape any kind of resolution there. I will definitely attend the hearing and can proceed from there, accepting whatever judgment there is, etc. I hope you can see the uniqueness of my situation and thus be willing to accommodate my request. I can be reached on this fax number? What the fuck? My email address is ethanralph@rocketmail.com or theralph@theralphretort.com. I have a Memphis, Tennessee fax number because I rented one online. Happy Thanksgiving and thank you for reading this letter. Sincerely, Ethan Ralph. And as you can see, this is watermarked, officially filed. I love the little scribblings on the on the bottom, CC County, and then there's like the date and stuff. Please, you gotta let me see my son for Christmas. I just want to cross the border so I can see Xander. I'll show up by Zoom, I promise, and deal with the consequences of my actions. So this is the bullshit he sent. The judge just filed it as is. And then we got down here, the judge, instead of like creating like a proper filing to kind of address all the points and cite case law and all that shit that you usually do in like a response to a legal filing, the judge literally just put a little stamp on the corner that just says request to quash warrant is denied. And then he filed this again. He just kind of scribbled it in the corner that just says denied, and then just refiled that original paperwork. And it's kind of like this meta artistic commentary if you really think about it, because the judge has effectively used the original filing as his justification for denying the filing. Like, in lieu of any logic or court opinion or case law or actual legislative law, he just says, look at this retard shit right fucking here on your screen. That is why it's denied. And he's pretty confident that that would hold up in appeals court. So, suffer, Ralph. Gonna be spending Christmas in Mexico, huh? Unlike somebody we know, chat, Ralph will be spending Christmas in Mexico. Oh, dude. Feliz Navidad, Ralph. Feliz Navidad. Ethan Ralph of theralphretort.com, editor-in-chief of The Ralph Retort, also host of the Keel Stream Baby. Last time we spoke of Ethan Ralph before my siesta, as they say in Mexico, Ralph found himself in a very unique position where he was the subject of a nationwide arrest warrant for a misdemeanor. A very expensive warrant put out by the county for a man for, I think what he did was just like disrupting court or something. He had recorded the court without their permission and posted online, and explicitly stated that because he was in Mexico, they couldn't catch him. So they put out a nationwide warrant for a misdemeanor, which I've never heard of before. And certain people that I spoke to who were prosecuting attorneys in counties had never heard of putting out a misdemeanor nationwide warrant. So Ethan Ralph sent them a little piece of paper in the mail that ended up getting filed with a no, like literally he filed like a piece of notebook paper that says, please don't put a nationwide warrant out for me over Christmas. I gotta see my son, Xander, who I love so much, unlike my daughter Rosie, who I hold utter fucking contempt for. I gotta see my son, Your Honor. I gotta see my son. Please quash the warrant for me. I'm just over here in Mexico wanting to be a father. And the judge took the notebook paper that he had filed with the court and wrote denied in the corner and then signed it and filed that as his response, as if the letter itself was the merits of the judge's reason for denying it. Then, I assume, the prosecuting attorney, seeing that he was dealing with a complete fucking imbecile and not wanting to spend the money for a nationwide arrest warrant for a misdemeanor, contacted him, and they came to an agreement that Ethan Ralph would pay $585 or $89 as a fine for his misdemeanor, which closed out the case. So Ralph did get to cross the international border back to the United States and see his son, Xander, once again. Actually, I'm not sure if that's true. I'm kind of curious. The Ralph retort. You can block me, but I can still see your zeets. Ho, ho, ho. Let's see. I'm scrolling. He's making fun of the Malaysian fleshlight, which is funny. Clips of the podcast. He was streaming over Christmas. Oh, let me put this up on the big screen, the big dog screen. Bow wow. Merry Christmas to all. I hope the day was rewarding and filled with good memories. Mom was low-key and relaxing. Did some stuff on the podcast feed and the Rumble channel. Read some stuff. Looking forward to doing the Boxing Day kill stream tomorrow. So that's how he spent his Christmas. Yeah, he definitely told the court that he intended to go to the United States and see his son, Xander. But I'm scrolling through the chat or the history, and I don't see that. Yeah, I guess he didn't go. What the fuck? Sorry, give me a second. I'm on December 17th at this point. He made a post confronting Wings of Redemption? Because Wings made fun of him at some point. I remember that. Yeah, he definitely did not go see Xander over Christmas like he told the court he was going to. Let me go all the way back to December 6th before I say that, because I suppose because that's when it got quashed. Like maybe after, as soon as he settled the debt, he went. Like, that's possible, I guess. Still loading. December 9th. December 9th. Lots of stuff about Luigi Mangione. And then he posted his payment to them on the 8th. So he told the court he desperately needed this quash so he could go see his son, Xander. And then he didn't actually do it. So I guess that's what he was up to for Christmas, was lying to the courts.